Has Vegas gone mad? Everybody's coming to San Antonio, and are international players perhaps better than American players right now?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Zach Aguilar, the voice of Tanjiro Kamado, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. I am glad to have you back. Hey, you made the right choice coming back right here at Locked On Spurs. We always thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. We are part of the Locked On NBA Network. So what are we talking about today? Shocker, Wemby. But in the sense of, is this guy, is he a good thing? And obviously he is. But is he part of this trend where perhaps international players are better than American-born players? We're going to talk about that, including, but first off, we're going to talk about Vegas going absolutely bonkers. Apparently every free agent in the world is coming to San Antonio according to Vegas. We're going to sift through that. What is the latest Vegas projections? And which of them are the players, at least they listed, are reasonable, which leads me to my, opening chat here with you guys. And that is, the Spurs. They've become the destination, or have they? Yeah, Vegas just going out the mouth right now, from Chris Paul to Al Horford to VanVleet to D'Angelo Russell. You name it, they probably have that. And that is part of the Wemby effect and the fact that the Spurs are positioning themselves for the future. This is actually a good thing, everybody. When Vegas is putting San Antonio among top 10 teams for free agent destinations, when was the last time you heard that? Probably never, ever. But here they are. That's a hat tip. That's a salute to the Spurs, to Brian Wright, to Popovich, to Buford, to the way they position themselves to be in the position right now to be perhaps the next free agent destination, not only just for the NBA, but just like in general in their franchise history. That should be a good thing. Sure, it cost a season, maybe a season and a half of tanking, but perhaps this is part of that light at the end of the road. Is now Spurs are not going to be ignored anymore. They, with Wemby and the young core they have, could possibly be a powerhouse, not just built through the draft, but built through the draft and smart free agent pickups and positioning well for what is about to happen. We're going to talk about that right now with my colleague at KENS 5 TV. We affectionately call him the Vin Dog. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. He is back right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at @VinZetta. You want to do that right now. Don't let the dog bite you. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to let the Vin Dog bite you. So follow him. Vinny, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
I don't bite, but I guess if you charge at me, I'll give it a go. But yes, sir, Jeff. Always good to be back with you, my friend.
Yes. Well, let's dive into this right now, and let's talk about Vegas gone mad. If you have not seen this, Vinny, let me catch you up to speed. Bet Online, the Oddsmaker, recently put out their NBA prop futures, and one of them was just about free agents in general. And you go through each and every big name, or at least notable name, I should say, a free agent, you'll see that San Antonio is in the mix, from Chris Paul to Fred VanVleet to Al Horford, D'Angelo Russell, Damian Lillard. I mean, it looks like everybody's flocking to San Antonio according to Vegas, huh, Vinny?
I mean, it's a summer of money for the Spurs. I mean,
it
doesn't surprise me. And as you mentioned, the Wemby effect, and clearly players will be excited. I've heard so much in the last couple of days about, can you imagine the pick and roll with the CP3 and Wemby? So there's a lot of excitement from fans, but I can only imagine there's a lot of excitement from these would-be free agents. Which ones might consider coming here? How long would I have to come here to wait for a title? Is it immediate? Is it still a couple of 2 or 3 years away? So a lot of consideration for these guys, but it's cool to see so many of these names on the big board, like CP3 and Horford and D'Angelo Russell and Fred VanVleet and Damian Lillard, for crying out loud, and DeAndre Ayton down the list, and who knows where Bradley Beal's going to end up. So yeah, it is exciting for sure.
It's close to. I mean, I think I can safely say this, Vinny. It's close to never. I can't picture or remember an off season where Vegas had San Antonio penciled in for a destination, and that's been one of the stereotypes against San Antonio. Is it a destination place for players? Is it a destination place for free agents? And time again, we've seen the Spurs get spurned. We've seen the Spurs get used just as leverage. We've seen some flirtations. Remember the Jason Kidd thing with Tony Parker, and that never happened. I thought Kevin Durant was coming to San Antonio. That never happened. It's not the first time Chris Paul was linked to San Antonio. That never happened. But now it's viable. Now it's palpable. I wouldn't be surprised if, because of Wemby and the position and the money, especially money talks, Vinny, that you might start seeing a different trend for the positive, Vinny, where big name free agents do come to San Antonio.
That's the funny part. Basketball aside, San Antonio is known as a destination city for tourism anyway. People come here for their own versions of staycations, from inside and outside the city, and there's just so much to do. But yeah, it would be nice to see it slip and be a basketball thing. Yeah, you're right. You never hear the term destination location for the Spurs, but that probably is changing just because of him. And remember, a couple of years ago, Pop was not pleased, I think, when one of the Morris twins kind of spurned on Antonio, and he seemed to be signed, sealed, and delivered, and then he was not. And yeah, it's crazy, man. This city has been leveraged for all sorts of sports things over the year, whether it be prospects of MLB or another NFL franchise or NBA free agents. So it would be nice to see it no longer be a leverage type operation for San Antonio, and people actually get down here and be a part of the culture the Spurs have working here.
Everybody knows LaMarcus Aldridge has been the only big time in their prime NBA free agent to pick San Antonio. He chose San Antonio. So that's good. But other than that, no. We sure have free agents come to San Antonio, of course, but they're usually past their primes, or it was a cup of tea and they're gone the next season. They never have stayed, unlike LMA did. And sure, perhaps that's just the point of the Spurs franchise history, Vinny, was perhaps they didn't need that because you had 3 Hall of Famers on board. You just needed to pick role players. But the point is that if players in their primes were looking to win a title immediately, San Antonio will still ignore it, even during the Big Three era, and maybe just a little bit during the LMA and Kawhi partnership there. But now that trend is changing. That's what I like about it, is that you're seeing names of players in their primes. Maybe not Chris Paul, but the point is, if VanVleet in his prime, you have D'Angelo Russell. At least Vegas says, Spurs have a chance. Their odds, good favorable odds to get him. DeAndre Ayton, we'll talk about him in a while. They're lumping now players that are at their peaks or entering their peaks, and that's a good thing. And that's a part of the Wemby effect and the direction the Spurs are going. But now we're going to sift through it. What is Vegas saying? What in the world has gotten up the butt of Vegas to say these players are coming? We're going to sift through that when we get back. We're going to pick which names are realistic. Why or why not should they come to San Antonio? Is Vegas spot on? Does it make sense? Right here on Locked On Spurs with my guest. He is Vinnie Vinzetta. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. You want to do that right now. Hey, look, I want to talk about Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make you look good. They have these stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Yeah, you want to look good. You want to get yourself some Bird Dogs. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing, like Lululemon, but they fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts, and they're made of a stiff, well, at least those are the regular shorts. They're made of stiff restricting cotton. That's not the Bird Dog angle whatsoever. This is that cloud knit fabric that you get in every single Bird Dog product. Bird Dog also uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Look, I have a pair of Bird Dog shorts. They fit well. I use it when I'm out in the gym. I use it when I'm out and about. They're universal. They're flexible. They're everything you need to feel comfortable. And you look better too. So that aside, you want to go to birddogs.com/lockedonnba right now. You do that, you make yourself an order, you get yourself a free Yeti-style tumbler with each and every order you make. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnba for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You don't want to make your bird dogs wait any longer, and you don't want to even want to take those bird dogs off. We promise you.
Nobody summons Megatron.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. He is Vinnie Vinzetta, the Vin Dog himself, and we're talking about the silver and black and trying to figure out what is going on with Vegas. What are the odds that Vinnie Vinzetta is going to suit up? That's what I want to ask Vegas. Hey, Vegas, what are the odds on that? Got to get him in his Spurs uniform.
That would be plus several 100,000. Would be my guess off the top.
Oh, I don't think. Well, okay, yeah, maybe it is that high. But anyway, well, you saw the latest article about Vegas odds and these players over at kens5.com/Spurs. Let's start off with the ones that, ain't coming, and that is DeAndre Ayton. We just scratch them off right away. You know, they got Wemby, they got Zach, they got Bassie. I think they're good. So you can scratch DeAndre off, right?
I would think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, as amazing as it would be to consider something like DeAndre and Wemby, thinking of Dave and Tim, the odds seem stacked against that. Like there are needs in other positions before that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another name we get scratch off the list pretty fast, D'Angelo Russell. The Spurs basically got a bunch of D'Angelo Russells. The only thing that would intrigue me with him is his offensive potency, and he can hit the outside shot. I think that's something this team needs to address in the offseason. But again, they already have Vassell, they have Keldon, they have Sohan, Malachi. Who knows what they're going to do with their 2 second-round picks, or maybe swing for a deal. I think you can scratch off Russell coming to San Antonio.
I'd agree with that. As exciting as he can be, and as potent as his offensive game can get. I mean, when that guy gets hot, he can score in bunches. No, there's no doubt about that. But you're right; they are very heavy at that position already.
Intriguing name that Vegas says the Spurs have favorable odds to get is Al Horford. This is a veteran, big, who can knock down the outside shot, who can help Wemby, and has championship experience, at least getting to the finals. I wouldn't be mad if the Spurs chased him. What about you, Vinny?
I'm ho-hum. I'm fine. I'm fine either way. It doesn't light me up. It doesn't, bum me out. So I'm kind of just down the middle on Big Al. I mean, I don't know. That's just my initial impression. It doesn't really move the meter for much for me either way. But that is to say, if I say it like that if he comes, I'd be fine with it.
And again, he's a veteran, so I wouldn't be surprised if Pop is like, did you say veteran big in the league? What? I'm going to give him more minutes than Zach Collins. That'll make Spurs fans flip the table over and over each and every game. But, I think I'm sorry. Al Horford would be, I wouldn't be mad. I agree with you. It doesn't move the needle for me, again, because the Spurs, I think they have plenty of bigs and a big, big, big one coming in very, very soon. So I think they will be fine. Here's an interesting name that Vegas Oddsmaker BetOnline has out there, is saying the Spurs have a good shot at getting him. Fred VanVleet, Vinny Mr. F Pop, that he proclaimed on a video back in the Raptors championship parade. I mean, he's instant offense. He's a steady guy. He's a veteran. He's the upgrade that Spurs fans and many prognosticators say the Spurs need over Trey Jones. He wanted to get paid. The Spurs have the money. Are you pulling the trigger? Is Vinnie Vinzetta betting the over and under of that happening?
If he's like the last guy that's available that can be a frontline point guard starter, then yes. I mean, I do like him. I think everybody likes him. I like a couple of people better, but Fred has shown that he's created his own way in the NBA, and he's solidified himself. So much respect and much appreciation. So yeah, if that's the guy that's available, and there's mutual interest and everybody's showing love, then I would pull the trigger.
I would too, but I agree with you. He is somebody that I would put in my back pocket, very, very close up to the front of the top of the pocket. But he's like kind of a very like just in case all else fails kind of thing. And again, it's not a bad thing. Obviously Spurs fans are gonna have to get over it. What happened years ago when he allegedly said F pop during the championship parade for Toronto. But he is intriguing. He again addresses the outside shooting because I look at Sohan and Keldon and Trey, and I'm like, where's the outside shooting coming from? Malachi? Okay, well, let's see what he can do in year two. But yeah, that's what I like about that. He has championship experience. He's not an old timey vet. He's still young. He's not going to probably demand the ball. He's used to playing with superstars from Kawhi to Siakam. So I think he would plug and play pretty easily. And he's already got his title, so he doesn't worry about chasing another ring unless he wants to. Well, he ain't going to do it in San Antonio, but at least for now. But if he wants to be part of something special, I wouldn't be mad if the Spurs brought him into San Antonio. Let's go ahead and talk about Damian Lillard now. This was intriguing. Again, addresses the Spurs need right now outside shooting. And this guy is instant offense, a proven all-star, a proven NBA commodity. Him and Wemby and Sohan and Keldon and Vassell would just wreck shop. Why does this feel like pie in the sky though, Vinny? This feels like this is almost too good to be true.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes when you hear something like that, you're like, there's the number one reason to back away because it sounds too good to be true. But then I think, come on, man, Dame time in San Antonio. Let's go. How awesome would that be? I mean, I'm envisioning him in the silver and black launching half-court shots right now. I mean, it puts a smile on the face and sounds really exciting. I think it's probably a little bit of a long shot, but man, I mean, what are we talking about? Of course, if you can get Damian Lillard here, you do it.
Yeah, obviously, I think you can see perhaps Portland trying to do a sign and trade. I think that's what Damian probably would do with them. For them, if he wants out, and it looks like all signs are pointing that Portland is trying to keep him in tow and build around him. You're hearing rumblings of them shopping their pick right now, but if he just wants out of Portland and the Spurs and the Portland wants to do a sign and trade, Spurs are set. And that's what I was saying in the opening monologue, Vinny, is that the Spurs are positioned for every conceivable avenue an NBA team or the Spurs themselves want to take. If Portland wants to say, you know what, we don't want to lose it for nothing, sign and trade right now, or just trade straight up, whatever. Okay, Spurs would be, okay, what do you want? No problem. You want unprotected first round picks? We got you. You need some cash? We got you. Dame, you need a max contract? We got you. And that is just, wow. Kudos to the Spurs, Brian Wright, Buford, Popovich, everybody there, Vinny.
Remember a couple of years ago, everybody was ready to run Brian Wright out of town, that he was destroying this once proud franchise. He knew what he was doing. He and RC and Pop, they had a plan. Was it long-term? Of course. But they knew what they were doing, and here we are now. And yeah, they're in a position to bargain. They have stuff to work with, and that's a good thing. They can come to the table and say, like you just said, we can lay out A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. What do you want to make this happen?
Wow. It's just so awesome to see the Spurs in this position right now to be able to, become just something very, very, very special. So, Vinny, well, you know what? Why don't we hang on to this? We'll get to the big name that seems that Vegas, as Chris Paul seems to think that will come to San Antonio. So we're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll address that and other names that are on the big board, at least according to Vegas, that is on the Spurs betting odds. And we're going to talk about that and a lot more right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Vinzetta. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. Do it right now. Don't get the big dog mad. Hey, Locked On's NBA mock draft special is here. It's bigger than ever. Follow the entire first round in a 6-episode ultimate mock draft experience. Only Locked On can deliver. All episodes are available now on Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I cannot let you go without talking about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now. They got flash deals on last minute tickets. You can find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. You do so much more on Game Time. You get images of seat views, the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. Look, forget about planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts. I mean, pick an event, you're there with Game Time. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. You'll never have to dig through your email. Can't get better than that. Download the Game Time app right now. Create an account. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Game Time. You want to go and download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. We can't let you go with also talking about Mudslingers drive-through coffee out in San Antonio. One of the best cups of coffee you'll ever have. Located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Look, over 300 five-star reviews cannot be wrong. They have coffee. They have lattes. They have dairy alternatives. They have caffeine-free drinks. The list goes on and on. They have the Red Bull infused Lightning series. That sounds powerful, but it's really, really good. I recommend adding the strawberry flavor to it. Tastes great. And they also got the Alien. That's right. In honor of Wembanyama's imminent coming to San Antonio, they created a drink in his honor called the Alien. It is a mix of green apple and kiwi and Red Bull all mixed together. Tastes really, really good, and it'll get you going through your day. Also, don't forget about the OGOJ. If you miss those Orange Julius days walking in all of the old school San Antonio malls, it's back. The OGOJ gives you that nostalgia vibes. It's available right now over at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. You can find them on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at MudslingerSTX. Life is too short for bland coffee. Let's go to bringing our guest back. He is Vinnie Vinzetta, the Vin Dog. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. We're talking about Vegas gone mad. Everybody in the whole world that picks up a basketball is coming to San Antonio. But Vinny, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is Chris Paul. Vegas, their odds are plus 200 right now. That's high. That Chris Paul will be wearing the Spurs uniform next season. I am really, really split on Chris Paul. I like what he brings to the court. I like that generalship that he'll bring to this young core. Imagine him running with Wemby and the rest of the kids. He does well with young teams. Ask Phoenix, ask OKC. But his age, he's on the downside. He's not reliable physically, health-wise. He might command a pretty penny for his age. May not even come because he's chasing a ring. He doesn't have that in his career. At the end of the day, Vinny, I'm really split on this guy. And I'm kind of leaning towards, you take a shot and bring him in.
I mean, I think that you make all really valid points. And what is Chris Paul known for? He's known right now as the champion of State Farm commercials. So of course he's chasing a ring. But everything you just said, I think CP3 would agree with you. He's like, I just did turn 38 years old in May, and I'm on the downside, and I've got a few years left. And the other elephants in the room, there's a ton of mileage on my NBA legs, and I haven't proven to be entirely durable for the crux of an entire NBA regular season plus the postseason. So there are things to consider, but there's that one lingering thing out there. Just people again thinking about CP3 running the point for this very young team, and how does he move them along, and working the pick and roll with Wemby. I mean, there are things to be excited about, but you have to remember all the other baggage right now that comes along with CP3, and I think those are fair. Those are fair concerns.
Plus 200 odds, though. I mean, that's high. I mean, that's really high. And it makes the sense because, Popovich, imagine them two. I mean, you got a general on the sidelines. You get a general on the floor. Why I like Chris Paul coming to San Antonio, and perhaps one of the bigger reasons for me personally, is that he has something that I don't think this Spurs team collectively has. Maybe you see a little bit in Collins and Sohan. And he's a dog. He's not like Vin Dog, but he's a dog on the court. And this guy, he's a bulldog. He brings the nasty to us. He'll do whatever it takes to win. He's and I think sometimes this young team needs that kind of edge. I like that little bite that Chris Paul would bring to a team, and I think it'll be infectious where they won't back down, where they may, test the limits with refs, where they will bark back. I like that X factor that he brings. Vinny, your thoughts?
I love that. That's been a big part of who he is, his MO. I mean, he is a floor general. I mean, don't forget, for years, and I mean years during the playoffs, every year, Charles Barkley would say Chris Paul is the best leader in the NBA. And every time I would hear that, I would say, I have a hard time disagreeing with that. I mean, he hasn't gotten to the finish line and hasn't put on a ring, but I would agree, man. He's a guy who commands respect, and people, he's like a leader. I'm going to lead. Will you follow? And I think players say yes. Did people expect more from Lob City and with the Clippers? Yeah, they never quite got there. I mean, the Spurs kind of got in their way among other teams. But, yeah, I mean, I think when he came to, as you mentioned earlier, when he came to Oklahoma City, people were excited about him leading that young bunch. Now, it only lasted a year or two, whatever it was, before he went to Phoenix. But, yeah, I love him as a guy who commands respect and runs the top of the offense. 100%, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Now, look, I wouldn't be mad if the Spurs just run a roll with somebody else. If it's VanVleet or it's Trey Jones, that's fine. They pass on Chris Paul, or Chris Paul doesn't want to come to San Antonio. That's fine. I think the Spurs are okay. But to see him in a Spurs uniform would be outstanding, in my opinion. And I think, we talk about the Wemby effect, shortening the rebuild. I think you would have to credit Chris Paul for helping shortening the young Spurs learning curve individually and to at a rapid pace, what he would show them on the court. But yeah, if you want to see all the names that are being bantered about from Vegas' side, and the odds are, or you want to put some money down on whether you think these names will come to San Antonio, you want to go to kens5.com/Spurs right now. Hey, Vinny, before I let you go, I want to talk to you about the international game versus the American-born players. You're seeing a lot of the international flavor players, really dominating now. You see Giannis winning a title recently. You saw Joker, multiple MVPs, just won the title. Jamal Murray, Canadian, right there with him. His running mate, he's a champion now. Spurs are about to get one, and hopefully he pans out into a dominant international player. That's Wembanyama. Are we seeing and perhaps witnessing that the international players and the system that they are learned from, puts them a little bit of heads above the rest in America? What do you think?
I'm not quite ready to go there just yet.
Okay.
Have they maybe tied the race? Are they right on our heels? I think that's fair to say. But overall, I still think American basketball has the best players in the world. But yeah, I mean, I think you make a fair point that the top international guys are, in some ways probably have surpassed, but overall the collective thing, I'll still stay with this country. But man, there are some total studs in the NBA right now from abroad. I mean, Giannis, Luka, the Joker. I mean, we've seen a few things from Porzingis and Vucevic and Bogdanovic and Valanciunas. I mean, who sometimes rolls into the AT&T Center and won't miss a dang shot. Yeah, it's impressive what those guys from across the pond have brought to the NBA.
And the Spurs are, they're happily victims of the international flavor, from Manu to Tony to, I don't know, do you lump Tim Duncan in there? I know he's Virgin Islands and part of the United States, but regardless, the Spurs have been successful in that area, and that's why Wemby. Yeah, go ahead.
The Spurs have been at the forefront of that. I mean, they're the franchise and organization that kind of put international scouting on the map. And I heard this on another podcast that I won't say who and where, but I heard a gentleman say it kind of feels like basketball justice that the Spurs won the NBA draft lottery because they did more to make international scouting a top priority than any other franchise in the league. And I thought, that's a really great point. It almost does feel like justice that they won the Wemby sweepstakes.
Yeah, and that they did. And you're hoping that Wemby does become the next international star. It just feels that we talked about the wave of international players during the Dirk era, the Manu, the Tony, that area, as being dominant. Look at this, Peja Stojakovic. Now you fast forward, even just from that point in the NBA timeline till now, it's just jumped dramatically, just jumped so much. They're winning MVP trophies, they're winning titles when it was probably unheard of years ago. What was the old knock on international players? Oh, they're soft. Well, the international play stage is a little rougher than the NBA stage. You're allowed to hand check still overseas. NBA did away with that. And I believe you can still do a 3-second violation, and clog that paint. And the NBA obviously, doesn't allow for that. So it's just interesting to see this wave, and the Spurs are going to be a part of it again with Wembanyama. Now, you hope that he pans out. There's a lot of hype on this kid's shoulders. But what did you think about Vegas's recent projection about his stat line? I think it was Bet Online. They project Wemby's final regular season averages after his rookie season to be about 17 points per game, 2.5 blocks per game, a shade under 10 rebounds per game, somewhere like hovering around 8. What did you think about that?
I mean, that is, again, even getting to that is a big ask, but Vegas, I'll say this, they seem to be close on most things more often than not. So it's exciting that those are the kind of projections they have for him. I mean, if he'll get close to that, the Spurs are going to have probably a better season than most people think. I mean, I'm not at all trying to suggest they're going to be in the top 3 in the West. No, I'm not saying that. But if he puts in numbers like that night in, night out, I mean, my gosh, I mean, the prospects are phenomenal.
Yeah. And look, the only where I disagree with Vegas is the point per game projection. I have them around 18, 19, 20 in that range, like 19, 20 in that range. I think 17 is a little low. I would bet the over on that if I was putting my money down on it. But I think they got it right with the blocks per game, 2.5. I definitely can see that. The rebounding, I can see that. I can see teams just pushing them away from the basket and just, foul trouble getting in the way. But I think offensively, I think he's going to be a force. I think because his length, his size, his skill set at his position and his height is just going to wreak havoc on defenses. So I definitely think that Vegas may have it wrong on his points per game, but everything else I'm pretty good with. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about Las Vegas going wild right now? Everybody's coming to San Antonio, from Dame Dollar to Al Horford to just pick up a free agent. They're probably coming to San Antonio according to Vegas. Do you buy? Do you sell? Would you bet the over? Would bet the under on any of these? What do you think about Chris Paul in a Spurs uniform? And what do you think about the international game? Spurs about to get a big player, pun intended. Are the international players just better than the American? We got to hear from you. Vinny, tell us how they can chat with you and what's going on in just San Antonio sports.
Man, you can always find me on Twitter at Vinnie Vinzetta. And, of course, a big week ahead. We're going to have a crew. Nate Ryan and our sports photographer, Jason, are going to be up New York way for the draft, and we'll have plenty of coverage that night. And then I can't imagine the chaos that we're going to have a few days following at the AT&T Center when Wemby is introduced to the San Antonio world. So we'll be right in the middle of that. So really, the week in front is all about the silver and black and the future of this franchise. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Again, follow Vinny on Twitter at VVinzetta, and you follow me on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone, and subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, the Kens 5 Plus app, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. We are part of the Locked On NBA Network. Your team every single day. You guys are the everydayers. Probably on next week's show, we're getting you ready for the draft with lots of coverage on that end as well. And just real briefly, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Make sure to check out Game Time right now. Go to gametime.co. Use the Locked On NBA with that promo code. So for Vinny the Vin Dog Vinzetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.